document, and we did a lot of brainstorming. We started last year in December, and our brainstorming was true brainstorming from a mobile WIC van to, I mean, everything, down the line. So, and then we had to get, then you whittle down to what you can do and what's feasible with your staff and what's feasible with your budget, things like that. So I'm just gonna, this is our work breakdown structure. These are all the things that we did or asked about. These are things that we wanted to ask about. A few of them, you'll hear me say that, and you'll all go, it can't happen, and I'm like, well, you found out that couldn't happen. So, I mean, but these were the things that we went to check on to see what we could do about them, and some of them worked really well. So after I'm gonna read this, then I'm gonna read my sticky note that I live by. This is what my staff is telling me worked the most. So I'm gonna go through everything we did or discussed. So obviously running the reports regularly, who's using their benefits, and call those who aren't, or who hasn't received their benefits. One of the things we did that fixed so much of a problem in like a 10-minute time frame. For years and years and years, we've had a huge, long message list because our phone tree, if you call into Deschutes County, press 1 for WIC, press 2 for environmental health, I mean, it's long and obnoxious. Luckily, we're first, but then our staff sits up front, and our main phone line was in the back, and even if it was up front, it was difficult for them to get to. And we, for whatever reason, why don't people tell us these things? We figured out that there is a way to have the staff be able to pick up any phone from anywhere. Once we eliminated that as an issue, they take 3 messages a day. We used to come back, I mean, by noon, we would have 30. But now that they can pick it up and stay at their desk by the window and pick up the phone, that eliminated a huge problem, and our clientele is much happier instead of, I left 3 messages and nobody called me back. Probably because you didn't leave a phone number, but that's okay. So, but they no longer have to leave their phone number or worry about leaving their WIC ID number or anything. They actually get a body. That was a huge, huge thing for us. So that was big. We contact the state to answer questions and feasibility of the twist and the future system. We had questions about twist sending an electronic reminder other than when it does, blah, blah, blah. All of those were shot down immediately because twist is at its max. It cannot do anything else no matter what. So we figured, so there was a couple of the things that just got taken off the list really, really quickly because of the constraints of our current system, which is fine, because I know eventually we're gonna be asked, what do you need the new system to do? And start creating your list, people. That will be good. We still have issues, so I'm sorry to bring this up with the state right here in front of everybody, but the phone number selection, we have that as an issue because even though we were told how it breaks down, how it calls, that's not what we're finding in Twist. We're finding that it calls, they're getting calls not on the main #1 number in there, so we can address that maybe at a different time. But
what are they getting?
it's kind of, it's a little random.
I think so.
Because they'll say they got a message somewhere.
Are you
and-
talking about answer?
Answer, yes.
Answer
Yes.
calls,
So in
okay.
demographics, you put them in 1, 2, 3 or whatever, and it doesn't call in that order. It doesn't always call the home one first or the cell one first. Sometimes it'll only leave a message on the message phone and not the other ones, even though they're supposed to get a message. And it's come consistently from many different clients. So it's not just one client saying, I never got a message. It's, we're hearing this a lot. And then when you print out the list, for us, when we print out the list, sometimes it'll print out the message number, and there are 2 valid cell or home numbers in there, but what prints out on our list for us to call is their message number. So we're having some funky issues with the phone thing, which may not be able to be changed until, the new iteration of Twist, or whatever it's gonna be called, but anyway, we're still having a little bit of issue with that. We created a 3rd sheet and some posters about the value of WIC, like a dollar amount. Like if you have a mom and a baby on WIC, this could be your dollar amount. And it also, we put in some stats of the research of, helps with breastfeeding, other things that WIC does. Yes.
Is that the one that I posted in the WIC link?
You guys,
probably.
I think I got those from you, so they're,
Yeah, there's third sheets that we mailed out in their appointments, but we also have posters in the clinic about it.
because I know I wrote up about that, so I was just
Yeah,
thinking that
and-
there's some illustrations of that in the
And
leaflet.
and what we also are doing with the staff, and sometimes we're good at it, sometimes we're not, is especially with somebody's first appointment, bring it up. You know, tell them the approximate value and tell them, I know Janet worked with Karen Fenton, our nutrition consultant, on getting the actual value of a child packet and a baby packet and a mom packet, and then we put in, so if you have a family of 3, this is what you could be getting, this is annually, it's so, but then having staff talk to people about it too, it's like, this is what you're gonna get, so, and I think those aren't necessarily things that are huge, but they're another nice thing for people to know, and it's a good positive. We just, so this was started February 23rd, and it happened yesterday, so not everything happens quickly. We worked with our operations to put up signs in the parking lot. We have 2 cute signs now that I have on my phone, about parking for expectant mothers and children, that they don't have to cross any part of the parking lot. It's right up with the, right up at the sidewalk, so they can get out and stroller in right from the sidewalk. And the only people that were not thrilled about that were the 2 staff that usually park there. They were like, what? What are those posts for? And we're like, oh, yeah, so. Anyway, they went up yesterday, so I like, again, that's one of those things that I don't think is, people aren't gonna be like, well, I go to WIC, they're parking, I can't get up close. But it's nice, it's a nice customer service thing if you can do it, and so we did it. So, and it's super cute signage, and I have it on my phone, so. We are starting to co-locate with other places. We're going to Head Start at least once a month. And we just met with Ariel Glen Apartments, the low-income apartments in Bend, and they have a community room, and they also, our FQHC also has a clinic there 5 days a week, and in a little ante-room, so we're gonna start going there once a month and seeing clients there because transportation's an issue. So those 2 things haven't fully happened yet, so, but they're still on the docket because this project is still ongoing, so just going out to those places. One that we were going to do, we were gonna use our home visiting nurses for some follow-up appointments a little more. We really decided kind of under the radar to keep that as a minimum, like for people that super can't get in, instead of using it regularly, just because we know when clients come in, they have a lot more questions than just the nutrition piece that the nurse might cover. They ask you about the yogurt, and they ask you about this, and so we didn't want to use Tiara's phrase, we didn't want to dilute the appointment, because they asked about a lot of other WIC stuff, so while that was on here, to use that more frequently, to try to make sure people got those follow-up appointments and weren't missing them, we decided to only use it in extenuating circumstances, because we would like to see those clients if we can, and we want them to be able to ask the questions, and we don't want the nurse to come back and go, okay, well, I did that follow-up, and her weight is good, and here's what we talked about for her weight gain, but she had all these questions about how to do this and how to do that, and I couldn't answer them, and it's like, that's not good customer service, so that one we thought we were gonna do, and then we backed off a little bit on. If clients are having issues and they're like, can't Ellen do my appointment because I can't ever get in there, and she, I already took off work to see her. Yeah, okay, we could, we could make that work. We're not gonna tell somebody no, but, we just decided as we went along that we'd rather see the client, so. We added in some before 8 a.m. appointments. Those are booked solid and attended very, very well. Yeah, the 7:30 and 7:40 appointments. People come in, get their quick, RC, we try in Redmond, because we don't have an MOA there, we try to keep those as follow-up appointments, so there's she's not checking income and all that, because that takes too long, but follow-up appointments in the morning, then they can take their kid to school and go to work. Those are hardly ever missed, which was a shock to us, but Maddie likes working early, so put her in early, and those were nice. We have also started offering some lunchtime appointments, 12 to 1. That's new to us, because we've always had off 12 to 1. So we have some people that are staggering their lunches, and those are well attended too. We did add some ones after 5 o'clock, and once again, in my 14 years that have been here, nobody showed up. So we offered some later but before 5, 4:30, 4:45 in there, and people are showing to those. But seriously, the morning ones and the noon ones have been the big hit. We have tried, we have a good Facebook page. We're one of the only ones that the county really likes, which is awesome. So, they have us put a lot on there, and we've tried to ramp up a little bit. Kind of ebbs and flows there too. We do really well for a while, and then it kind of falls off, and we're like, oh, I haven't put anything on Facebook in a while. So we tried to develop a little more of a schedule, and I have one of my RDs and one of my IBCLCs that do that. I know that seems like an expensive social media group, but I wanted somebody that knew a lot about nutrition and knew a lot about breastfeeding. So the right stuff goes on our Facebook page. And the county is reeling back a bunch of programmatic Facebook pages, and they always end it with except WIC, because your guys' is doing stellarly, so we're gonna leave it alone. So we're really proud of that, so that's a good thing. One of the things we wanted to do, KTVZ, our local news station, has a thing called KTVZ Cares for Kids, and they do fundraising and they do promotional stuff and blah, 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 blah. We thought, we're not a profit, no, can't do it. We looked into that, and they only have like 5, there's like Healthy Beginnings and a few other things, and there's like 5 entities they work with, and that's it. So, okay, that one. So you can see that, I mean, sometimes you try stuff and you think it's fabulous, and it's like, nope, that's not gonna work. Okay, moving on to the next one. We have communicated our new appointment times and stuff to our providers. So if, like a COPA, Central Oregon Pediatrics, if they hear that a client, oh, I can't ever get to WIC because I work, if they remember, or the MAs now can say, actually, if you call them, they will get you in the morning before work, or they'll get you in at noon. So, it's not all about, especially if they're not coming to us, we can't get them the message. So then you have to, so we told Head Start as well, so you have to get somebody else to get them that message, because they're not coming to you anymore. So that was our plan. So here's what, and not everything we're already doing was on here. So here's what the staff is telling me works. Calling the no-show. So at the end of the day, the certifier calls the people that no-showed in their column. We do first up, so it's not even that, it's whoever, unless it's a dietitian appointment or whatever, if it's just certifiers coming up, certifier clients coming up, they don't wait to see somebody in their column, they just take, whichever one's next, but at the end of the day, they can print out their own column and see who didn't show, and then they call them at the end of the day. And we have a pretty good response from the clients that it's not Michael or Shelley up front that they continue to hear from for whatever. It's, oh, the dietitian called me because I missed my appointment. It's a little bit different when they get that phone call. So they're willing to reschedule, they're willing to, and it's just helpful for the front office staff to have a little bit of that removed from their plate as well. It prevents them from getting another phone call in 3 days when the client realizes that they missed their appointment. So if we can spread that sort of work a little bit, that's been super helpful. Obviously running participants with no benefits, calling them. Most of the staff feel like we have really increased our flexibility to, if mom comes in and, it's a rescheduled appointment, we can only get one child in, but she happens to have the other one with her, that it used to be, we'd be like, oh. So I'm just gonna lay it out. Sometimes you're like, you know what, people have to learn. They've missed 2 appointments, we can only work in 1 kid, and we've just wiped all that off. If they are there, you will see them, period. And you guys know, it ebbs and flows. Sometimes you're like all about it, and you're like, well, let's get this done. And other times you're like, your staff is ragged, right? They're like, I can't, and I won't. Like, please, I will buy you a coffee, But by doing this QI project, everybody bought in. We don't have a small portion of our team on this QI project. Our QI project team is my whole team. And they bought in, and they suggested increasing flexibility. I did not. I'm much more protective of my staff than they are. They're like, no, we can do it. Sometimes we're just tired, or sometimes we're just ticked off, or our last client was awful, and we don't want to see the next one, who has twins, and you're gonna put one on, and they increased their own flexibility. And that really has made a huge difference. People come in the afternoon and they're like, they come in at 1 o'clock and they're like, I had a 10 o'clock appointment and I thought it said 1 o'clock, and we're like, you might have to wait, but we'll get you in. You know, and it's been very, very helpful. The AM appointments, lunch appointments, phone calls for no proofs, obviously we're running those pretty frequently. For our, a taste of WIC, which is equivalent to the Big Fun WIC class, which is equivalent to everybody's got, something like that, maybe, or, lots of counties have those. We do same-day calls. We call people in the morning to remind them for those, because those are usually 30 and 40-person events. And so staff call them in the morning for the afternoon of those. So that has helped people come. Our walk-in clinics, we're about to expand those, I think, in Redmond. We have walk-in clinics the first Thursday of every month. The Bend one is not overly attended, but we're keeping it for consistency purposes. The Redmond one is usually slammed. So we think we might put another one in on the third week of the month, because people really get used to being able to catch up. And Redmond has less appointments available. It's just a smaller clinic and we have smaller space. So it's nice to have times for people that they can just walk in for their appointment.
Laura, is the Bend one is once a month also?
Yes, it's only half a day. It's in the morning, but there's more certifiers there. So the Redmond one is all day with 2 certifiers and a clerk. So, and the biggest thing I think, and the staff does too, as far as increasing caseload, all of those things mostly keep people on, right? They keep them from falling off. The one thing that's increased, and there is an article, so get your pens ready, in the Bend Bulletin, so bendbulletin.com, about our perinatal care coordination. It came out today, and it's a grant through our maternal child health program, and we have staff, all of ours are former WIC staff, so it makes it so easy to keep them up with the modules and new things, the in-services and stuff. They are in the OB clinics. And the obstetricians, the first OB appointment, after that person has their OB appointment, they go see a perinatal care coordinator who gets them on OHP if they're not on it, gets them on WIC if they're not on it, sets them up with a dental appointment if they don't have it, does this sort of mini care coordination right there. They get them in with home visiting, so it's tri-county, it's Deschutes, Crook, and Jefferson, so they are benefiting from it too. Ours just started a little earlier. We started it in Deschutes County to kind of show that it might work, and then the grant was given tri-county wide. So that is huge, because that's 2 people, as you well know. Every pregnant woman is 2 clients, right? So that's a huge place to get people on. And what we have found, and this is anecdotal, this is not research, so Julie Reader can put her little ear flaps down, because I know she's gonna think I'm research, and I'm not, this is anecdotal. But in Deschutes County, what we have found is the earlier a woman gets on WIC in their pregnancy, it's like it hooks them in, they get it. If we get someone in there, they're 7.5 months, and we see them one time, and then they're supposed to come back for their postpartum, and they're like, what? We haven't hooked them yet. How fantastic we are, and all the stuff they get. But if we can put them on in their 8 weeks, 9 weeks, and then we can see them another day, so they see our fantastic people at the OB offices that hook them up with everything. Then they see us in the clinic 2 more times before they come in. They're on it. They're all over WIC, and they want to stay on WIC. So getting those people in early obviously helps our caseload to get them in early, but then they have enough time to learn the benefit of WIC before they have that baby. So that has been huge. To be honest, we don't see a lot of new pregnants anymore when they call, because we can get them into them sooner. And then, like I said, it's Teresa Ryder, we know her, Erica Mosier, some people know her, and Erin Hoare, some people even know her, and she was long ago. Those are our 3. And they formerly worked, Teresa worked for me for 8 years, I think, and Erica for 5. So they're good WIC certifiers. And then they just come to our in-services and everything, so we keep them all abreast of everything they're supposed to know. And they put people on WIC out there through no WIC funding, which is yet another bonus. So that's a big deal.
So they're not certifying them, they're just getting them plugged in with WIC.
No, they're certifying, absolutely they are, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then and it was troubleshooting at the beginning, because then we had people that like didn't come for their second appointment, because I think they didn't kind of get it. So we had some troubleshooting at the beginning of the year of how to, so we cleared out, we changed our F2 appointments, the length of them, and made it so the only F2s on our schedule, what that means is they were put on WIC at the doctor's office. And then their next appointment is an F2. So that means that if I'm in clinic or somebody's in clinic and we see an F2, the first thing we say is, oh, I see you got put on WIC when you were at your doctor's office. Did you see Teresa or Erica? And they're like, oh, I saw Erica, she's great, you know. So it's like that touch point, right? It's like, so we understand they may never have set foot in our office, so they may need a little more explanation of where they're at and why they're there and stuff, so we do follow up there. So that's the only thing we use an F2 for, is that's the follow-up after.
You made a comment about keeping them up to speed on the WIC stuff.
Yeah.
Can you talk more about how that works?
Well, whenever there's a WIC in service, we invite, I mean, their offices are from me to Emma.
Oh.
So they're still part of Deschutes County Health Services.
Oh.
So we do, whenever we have, like, we had the food insecurity one, they're all three coming to that. They come to all of our in-service.
So they just,
anytime we
when
have-
you schedule, or you just
Absolutely.
schedule them?
Yeah,
So
we
it's
just,
no
when we send out
separate?
the email about we're gonna have an in-service on something, we include them and they come to those.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah, so we keep them up to date on everything, so,
That's cool.
yeah. So, and I totally understand that is a benefit that a lot of counties don't have. I fully understand that. That doesn't mean that the state isn't hearing this possibly in the future. I mean, outreach is outreach, and how can we, look to the future to, do things like that? Because it's really working, the physician's offices love it. They absolutely love it. And they just got refunded for another year or two from the Central Oregon Health Council. CCO loves it, because people are getting prenatal care, they're getting behavioral health care, they're getting nurse home visiting, they're getting all of that early on. So, super helpful. Does anybody have any questions? So like I said, all this, I know people are doing it. And we still have to remind staff to do it. I mean, even with the QI project, that was one of the other things on here is, at staff meetings, we talk about it still, and they'll be like, oh, I didn't read that report, I need to get that, because stuff still happens, it's still lit.
I have a question. You talked about, you run the reports of no BIs and all that.
Uh-huh.
And,
Well, I'm not gonna take credit for any of that,
I
that
mean,
is all my staff.
Your staff.
Yeah.
So, we noticed that we were running quite a few other reports, and I got some feedback from staff saying, some of the families that are on this report are also on this report and on this report. And, the feedback was, well, some families are getting upset about, getting 2-3 calls. And when we actually did that 2 months in a row that we called all these families and we ran all these reports, we had a really good, show read and all that, and I thought, okay. So I didn't know if anybody has any feedback, or you have any feedback, or,
What we had a little bit, kind of along the same line was, the no benefit report, you run it, and you run it, and you run it, right? And Shelley came back to me one day and she goes, how much do I stop this person? I call them every time. So we picked 3. We picked 3 calls. If it goes past 3 calls where it's too much, we've left 3 messages, it's hands off.
so you must be documenting
Yes.
when you call.
Yes. Yeah. If we have to leave a message, and yeah. Yeah.
You're documenting that in WIC notes?
Yeah. Yeah. Not if we got a hold of them and changed their appointment or whatever, but if it's like left a message, or of course it's only once if it's, mailbox full, phone, voicemail not set up, something like that, or some of them, it just doesn't go anywhere, it just rings and rings and rings and rings. It's like, you only have so much staff time, you just do, and you don't, but, and 3, we decided 3 was plenty. After that, people not happy. Sure. Not happy.